told her with the condition that you have to use it for at least 27 years.
There you go.
That's what I was wondering. I was telling when I took.
That was the plan. If not, I'm going to charge you.
I was talking to my sister.
I'm not even going to come to your funeral.
I was talking to my sister in London today, and I was telling her like about what happened on Sunday and how you always make reference to Rita, telling she's not in a hurry for me to join her.
You told your sister I asked you to take measurements? Well, that part you didn't tell.
That I didn't.
It's a charm to live a long life. Okay, Rabbi, let's start. This week's Parsha, Parshas Teitzei. Welcome everyone. Is a very long Parsha. Not so long in verses, only 110 verses, but has many commandments. So you have 110 verses, but probably the Parsha which contains probably more commandments. And we will honor David Normatov to tell us how many commandments he does. 74. 74 out of 613. Percentage-wise, no? Before?
About 9%.
74 out of 613 is 9%, that's it?
No.
It's about 9%, yeah. Close.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the interesting thing is these are the ones that pertain directly, they're not the Kohanim and the other ones.
I'm Jewish.
Exactly.
So they have a lot more personal.
Right. So, it's a beautiful Parsha, and there's a lot to discuss. Like as always, we're going to try to keep to some theme in the Parsha. First of all, let's start with the good part. Arnold started talking to me about cemeteries, I'm not sure why, and about Yizkor booklet, and I'm not sure why. So let's talk about long life for a second. There are 3 places in the Torah that we are told that by keeping a certain behavior, it will give you long life. 2 of the places are mentioned in this week's Parsha. One of them, the first one, which was mentioned in Parshas Yisroi, and then in Parshas V'eschanan, is the famous mitzvah known as the 5th commandment of the 10 commandments, which is Kabed es avicha ve'esimecha leman yarichun yomecha. Honor your father and mother, so your life should be long. You should live a long life. So honoring parents is a mitzvah which brings with it long life. Once someone said that God has to promise us long life for honoring parents, because usually what is the biggest concern people have with honoring parents, especially aging parents, that it takes a lot, that they give up a lot of opportunities, so to speak. They can't travel here because their father needs them. They can't go there because their mother needs them. But God says, don't worry, I'm going to give you a long life. Whatever you're missing out by honoring your parents, you're going to have more days to take care of it. But anyway, in this week's Parsha, there's actually 2 more mitzvahs which talks about honoring parents. One kind of, makes more sense than the other. One sounds a little interesting, but we're going to see both of them. Let's start first with the third one. On page 1064, verse 14. The Torah talks about keeping correct measurements. Says the Torah, says the Pasuk, Lo iye lecha bekischa even vo even gdoilo ktano. You shall not have in your, it says in your hand, but it translates in your pouch.
Oh, no.
Pouch. In your pouch. What is your pouch? In your pouch. Purse. In your belonging. Even vo even, a weight and a weight. Gdoilo ktano, a large one and a small one. Lo yeh lecha bebeischa, eifa ve'eifa, gdoilo ktano. You should not have in your house a measure and a measure, a large one and a small one. What is a large one and a small one? What is it referring to? So Rashi tells us right in the beginning, a large one and a small one, says Rashi, there is a large weight that he uses when he buys, so that he will get a large quantity, and a small one that he uses when he sells, so that he will give away less. So basically, a ganef, you take a weight, and it's forced to be a pound. It says on it pound, but really it is only a half a pound. And that is what he's putting on the scale when he's selling apples or flour. The receiver thinks he got a pound. And the buyer knows that he sold him less. Similarly, when he's coming to purchase, right? So he takes He takes a what's it called? He takes a large weight, which pretends that what's it called? That he that you know I don't owe you more, and that's how he's basically stealing money. There's actually a famous, I don't know if it's a joke or a story. There was a story with a moral. Don't cut me if I don't give you all the details. But the story was that there was the baker and the vegetable seller. The vegetable store was one next to each other, and the baker was very jealous that the guy in the vegetable store always has customers, and for him people are not so don't come that much. And the difference was because the guy from the vegetable store was a nice guy, and everybody who came in, he welcomed, and it was personal. And the baker was a short-tempered person, and he wasn't a nice person. People didn't like to hang out there. And he was jealous, so one day he decided, you know what, I gotta figure out what's going on. Maybe I can catch him by doing something wrong. The baker says, maybe I can catch my neighbor doing something wrong, and like that I'm gonna publicize that he's a ganav, he's a thief, he's not such a nice person. He buys by him a pound of apples. Takes it back to his store and he weighs it. And he sees that it wasn't really a pound. It was actually less than a pound. Guy's a ganav. He buys him a pound of tomatoes. The next day, he brings it to his store, he measures it. The guy's a real ganav. It's again less than a pound. He said, okay, I got him. And he gives out a rumor, and he tells people, and eventually he calls the police, and the police come in, and they take a pound of apples, and they measure it, and they see, yes, lo and behold, this guy's a ganav. He sells a pound, which is really less than a pound. And this guy's name gets shamed and embarrassed all over the community. And now he's losing customers, and business is down. And now he's also been brought to court. There's a court case. You wronging people. You wronged people for many years. Nobody can believe it, because this guy was the nicest guy, very decent person. Like, why would he do something like this? They come to court, and the judge gets up there and he says to the vegetable owner, try, defend yourself. What happened? Why would you do it? So he says, look, I will tell you my honest truth. I wasn't planning or intending to steal anybody. I do not trust myself 100% that my weights are really, really correct. So every morning I went to the baker next door and I asked for a pound of bread. And I brought in the pound and I weighed it on my scale. And I basically, confirmed my weight based on the pound that I got from the next door neighbor. And that's how I sold all my life. That's what I was trying to be honest. I didn't trust myself. I wanted to make sure that works, in a real way. And now that was my punishment. So obviously, it was clearly discovered who is the ganav and who is not the ganav. But anyway, This is just a story. But what? Measure for measure, exactly. Sorry, let me just close it. Says the Torah, verse 15, Even Shleimo, a perfect, v'tzedek, an honest weight, iyaloch, shall you have. Eifa Shleimo v'tzedek iyaloch, a perfect and honest measure shall you have. Leman yarichun yomecho alo adomo asher Hashem Elokecho noisin loch. By keeping correct measurements, then your day shall be lengthened on the land that Hashem your God gives you. Again, a promise for long life. It's the second time in the Torah that we are told long life for a very specific mitzvah. In this case, it is the mitzvah of keeping clear measurements. So you can explain it simply. Honoring parents. Why is there a long life for honoring parents? Like we said before, measure for measure. That's by the way God works. The way we are responding to Him, this is how He corresponds to us. So clearly, when you are honoring your parents, you give them a longer life. This is, I think, statistics. You can see it. People who don't have people to come visit them. They don't have children who care for them. So they disappear earlier, faster than somebody who has constantly visitors and ongoing. Obviously, if God forbid you have a sickness, you have a sickness. But even then, you have a child who cares for the sickness and takes you to the doctor and he schleps you. But so simply, you're making your parents live longer. You involve yourself in their life. You ask their advice to give them a word of encouragement. So by making their days longer, God says, okay, I'm going to make your days longer. Honoring parents. What is the honoring the long life for keeping the right measurements? It's simply, if we are going to sell to our buyers incorrect measurements, they're going to pay more money for less products. They're going to get anxious. They're going to get upset. They're going to get upset with you. And when people are upset, we know what happens. What happens? You take it to heart and you die. It only live long. People are anxious. People are frustrated. But then comes a third mitzvah. A very interesting mitzvah, which is even different, radically different than the two mitzvahs that we spoke till now. Honoring parents, first of all, takes time. Takes time. Even to make a simple call, you have to, put aside time. I will tell you, the last, it's already almost 2 years, I set up time once a week on Thursday afternoon that I set up time to speak to my father as long that he wants to be on the phone and I'm trying to keep him as long as possible. Sometimes it can even be an hour. Because it used to get very frustrating, I called him, he wasn't available, and he wanted to speak to me, and I wasn't available, and it was sometimes could have gone to a week, 2 weeks, when they didn't even speak. So, I think it was a year and a half ago, I was in Argentina, but my brother Osher had a wedding. If you remember, I went to Argentina, and I said that to my father, we were talking, and we had a good conversation. I said, you know what? Let's set up a time. Let's set up a time. When is a good time for you? Thursday night, 1 o'clock in the morning, is by you a good time. By me, it's 3 in the afternoon. Whenever 2 o'clock, I'm going to set up a time. And even Julia knows. 2 o'clock on Thursdays, I disappear. Either I disappear in my office or I disappear here or I go home. I sit down, I learn with him, I talk. This is his time. Even last week he was in Cyprus. There was a simcha by my sister. He was in Cyprus. And he had a, he waited for me for the phone in Cyprus. I sent him a message before, and he told me I have a different number now. I'm in Cyprus. It's the same time like in Israel, but are you gonna call? So it's very organized. My mother's a little more, it's hard to organize. My mother, she's like, she can talk a week. She can talk. You can call her Saturday night and end up next Friday. She has what to say non-stop. But I'm saying, what's the idea? The idea that it takes time, and time is money, right? So it's a difficult mitzvah sometimes. I know people who are traveling, they have parents in Israel, or traveling to Israel, and they constantly have to schedule themselves around those visits. I was visiting last year, 2 years ago, when Levi got married in Atlanta, so there's a lot of South Africans there. And I gave a class. They asked me to give a class Shabbos, so I thought about honoring parents. I don't remember why. That was the class, and I couldn't believe it. Like almost every person, there were about 30 people in the class. Everybody has issues with aging parents, and trips to South Africa. Some of them brought their parents in Atlanta, and they're trying to get them back to South Africa or whatever. I mean, there's a whole life. We live in a world which is a traveling world, So obviously the Torah has to give us some encouragement, a mitzvah which takes so much. Let me give you something good. Okay, long life. Long life sounds good. Weight, measurements, also, after all, people are trying to make a quick buck, and the Torah has to be clearly, don't do that. And if you have to work a little harder, and it's going to take you longer to sell it, because you're keeping to the right measurement, please do it. And again, the Torah says, I'm going to give you a long life for it. But then there is this mitzvah, which doesn't cost any money, and it doesn't take any time, and the whole mitzvah altogether is an interesting mitzvah. If you look on page 1051 in the English, verse 6, or 1050 in the Hebrew, verse 6. Sending the mother bird from the nest. Not this mitzvah, right?
51?
In the English, 1051, verse 6. Says the pasuk, Ki korei kan tzipor lefanecha. If a bird's nest happens to be before you, baderech, on the road, bekol etz, on any tree, oy ala oretz, or on the ground, efrochim or veitzim, young birds or eggs, veoheim roivetzes al or efrochim oy ala beitzim, and the mother is roosting on the young birds or on the eggs, and you want to take those eggs, you want to eat. Lo tikach o'im al abanim, says the Torah. You should not take the mother with the young, meaning you should not take the birds while the mother is there. Rather, listen to this mitzvah, rather, don't take it while the kids are still there. Shaleach teshalach eso'im, you shall surely send away the mother, ve'esabanim tikach loch, and then take the young for yourselves. You want to take an egg? The mother is resting on it. Don't take those eggs away while she is there. You have a mitzvah to send it away. And by the way, there is an old tractate in Talmud, a chapter in tractate Chulin. The name of the chapter is Shiluach HaKen, which discusses this mitzvah, dealing with a nest, sending the mother away. There is a section in Shulchan Aruch in Yoredeya called Hilchot Shiluach HaKen, the laws of sending away a mother from a nest. So the whole section of laws, what type of nest, and when does it apply, when doesn't it apply, and how do you send the mother away, etc., like everything else in Jewish law. There is details on this verse. Details. I saw someone observing this mitzvah once. You know, they say a story. They say it about somebody I know, but I don't know if the story is 100% true. That there was a Jew in Yerushalayim that he made sure every day he did not sit down for a meal unless it was a meal which was associated with a mitzvah. In Yerushalayim there's many synagogues, there's all kinds of celebrations, life cycle events. So he only ate if he was a part of a mitzvah celebration. But there was a brit in the community, so he ate. And there was no brit, he went looking for a bar mitzvah. There was no bar mitzvah, he went looking for a wedding. There was no wedding, he went looking for somebody finishing a tractate of Talmud. You know, he made his rounds, making sure that whatever he eats from this day, the meal that he ate, is food which came from a mitzvah feast, Seudat mitzvah. One day, Nebuch, the guy is going around from shul to shul, from neighborhood to neighborhood, garnish. No brisin, no bar mitzvahs, no weddings, no garnish. And he's hungry, he's starving. No, what should he do? That's his commitment. He walks home, schleps himself home, he comes into the house. And as he walks in, his wife tells him, Yankel, I see there is a bird outside by the window, resting, laid an egg. She's lying right there. He jumps, the mitzvah of Shiluch again, we can have a meal today. He's going to be able to make a feast because he's now performing a mitzvah, the mitzvah of sending the mother away from the nest. It's also a mitzvah, right? What is the mitzvah?
In Israel,
Hold on. I'm coming to your question. Keep it, don't forget it. Hold on. Says the Torah, you do this mitzvah, what's going to happen? Leman yitavloch. God says, you know what's going to happen? I promise you, I'm going to do good to you. Ve'arachto yomim. And you are going to live a long life. You know how much this mitzvah costs? Not even $1. You know how much time it takes? Not even a minute. You have to stand there, the way the halacha says, you can't throw it away by hand. You have to stand there and give a clap with a cane next to the nest. And the mother bird has to pick herself up and leave. That's how the mitzvah works. So it takes, what does it take? A half a second. Up, mitzvah. What do you get for it? God said, I'm going to do good to you. And you're going to live long. Hello. I gave $1 million to build a shul and didn't promise you such a good life. And here, but not doing anything, give a cook, see what I'm getting. What's the question? In Israel, something.
In Israel, where you have farms that produce eggs, you have hundreds of chickens, I'm assuming.
Not chickens, it's birds.
It's a people.
I know that you call a chicken in America a bird, but it's called, the Torah says tzipor.
But isn't a chicken a bird?
No, it's a tarnagolic.
Chicken is a bird, and a bird is a bird.
So I'm just wondering
And
how
a dove is
they
a bird.
how they produce.
So I'm telling you, it applies to only a bird, not a chicken.
A
Flying
different
bird.
word in the.
Dove.
Tzipor, dove.
Oh, okay, that makes sense then.
Okay.
That answers my question.
I told you you're gonna wait, you're gonna get an answer.
I knew I was going to get an answer.
Very good. What is with this mitzvah? Why does it give you a long life? What did you do already? So here too, you what?
Compassion.
Oh, and why is compassion giving you a long life? This mitzvah is really very much similar to the mitzvah of honoring parents and the mitzvah of keeping correct measurements. They all share a common denominator. The idea is that you don't allow yourself to make others frustrated or you become frustrated yourself. You don't allow yourself to be cruel. There's a mother, right? The cruel thing to do is to go over, grab the egg, and let the mother sit there and, it's only a bird, let it get another egg. Torah is
But it's
teaching.
not cruel to separate mother from the kid, from the egg.
Is it not cruel?
Yes, it's cruel for.
I mean, is it not cruel to slaughter a chicken and eat it?
Chicken isn't a bird.
I'm saying in general, it's not cruel to slaughter a cow. We don't look on slaughter and using, in the Torah view, taking animals and using them for feed to eat and preparing them properly, which is through shechita and through hunting them and through trapping them, whatever it entails, does not consider cruelty. We look at the animal as a benefit to the animal for having him being eaten as a part of a human consumption.
And it's, even if you have plenty of food in the refrigerator, it's still okay to shoo the mom away and take the egg?
It's a mitzvah. The mitzvah is different than.
But why is it to do a mitzvah when you, why is it to, I mean, I understand if you're hungry and you need food, so yes, send the mother away and take the egg. But if you have food, what makes, why is this a?
If you have bread,
Yes,
you have to eat meat. Why shouldn't we all be vegetarians? Why do you have to kill animals for?
it doesn't, I'm not saying that.
No, I'm asking. You have enough. What do you have to go? What do you want for the poor chicken? Why do you need to cook him and kill him and slaughter him? I'm saying it in general, our view on using animals and anything which God gives, use the food is an opportunity. Is an opportunity for the animals, an opportunity for the eggs.
It's giving the human being the chance to be compassionate, to teach him compassion.
True. I think that's what the Rambam says.
That's the point of
That's
it.
what the Rambam says, yes. What is that?
No, I'm talking about the three mitzvot.
Yeah.
First is honoring person, I understand. Second, to make proper management, I understand. But third, this is kind of act of cruelty. You giving away the mother away, and with this one, you doing mitzvah.
No, you are developing a sense. If you don't do it, you will never think about it. You're developing a feel for animals.
A compassion.
You come and you are initiating to separate the mother from the kid. And when you ask yourself, why did you do it? So I should not take the mother away from the kids, in a way by taking the kids and letting the mother stay where she is and seeing here that I'm enjoying a nice scrambled egg from mere labor. So this is the opportunity that Torah gives you to develop compassion for animals. This is the opportunity. And it's not only about animals. See, that's where people stop. This is always the unfortunate thing. When we talk about developing a compassion for the animals and a sensitivity to animals is in order to lead us further in developing a sensitivity and a compassion to our human beings, to our fellow human beings. Mm-hmm. That's the word. Unfortunately, a lot of people have a compassion to animals and it stops. They don't realize that the Torah's approach in developing a sensitivity to animals is in order to derive from it, to take it to the next level, and to say, if to animals I have to behave like this, and how much more so to my fellow human being. Yes?
It's also respect for life, because if you take the mother and leave the eggs, when they hatch, the young will die, and that's a waste of life. So it's respect.
People discuss it in the mitzvah. There's a beautiful Rambam. The Rambam says in his commentary to Mishnah, you know that every morning we say a Mishnah. We have the blessing for reciting the Torah. One of the morning blessings is a blessing for learning Torah, Divrei Torah. It's called Birkas HaTorah. Following it, we recite the priestly blessing. The priestly blessing is just verses from the Torah, and because we want to follow the bracha with some type of study, so the sages selected in reading from the Chumash. What kind of reading? Let's read about bracha. So they selected the bracha of Kohanim, the priestly blessing we say every morning, right after the blessing over the Torah. And then, in addition to the priestly blessing, we also study a small Mishnah. A Mishnah in Tractate Peah. And the Mishnah that we study every single morning, Yom Kippur, Tisha B'Av, every day, reads as follows. These are the precepts, meaning the mitzvot, the fruits of which man enjoys in this world by performing those mitzvah, while the principal reward remains in the world to come. The Mishnah is going to give us a list of things. By observing them, you will enjoy the profit of this mitzvah, the benefit of this mitzvah in this world, and the principal reward is being kept to you in a safe for the world to come. What are the mitzvahs? Listen to that. Number one, honoring one's father and mother. That comes as number one. Number two, performing deeds of kindness. Number three, yearly attendance in the house of study morning and evening. Number four, hospitality to strangers. Number five, visiting the sick. Number six, dowering the bride, helping a bride and groom to get married. Number seven, escorting the dead, going to a funeral. Number eight, concentration in prayer. Number nine, bringing peace between man and his fellow man and between husband and wife. And the study of Torah is equivalent to them all. So you start every morning and you think about this mitzvahs. The Rambam says, this is like, it's not even, it's almost like, I don't want to use the word, but it's almost like not even a religious duty. You don't have to be Jewish to honor your parents. You don't have to be Jewish to act kindly, to visit the sick, to join a bride in helping you get married, to go at a funeral. This is all so-called human nature, good, ardent behavior is to go and join and participate in all these types of mitzvahs. Why is it that the Mishnah begins and that becomes the Mishnah that we study every single morning? It's about that the reward is in this world and you're going to get, the principal reward in the world to come. So the Rambam says that simply, the Rambam says because this is exactly this mitzvah which makes your life good. It's not that God is rewarding you in the world. The reward is the keeping of this mitzvah. The very fact that you're involved with other people and you're hospitable, you have guests over, you go and help people get married and go and participate at funerals, you're becoming a respectful person to yourself, and you're also involved in community affairs with others, and it simply gives you a good life. In other words, this is not even to do, that's what the Mishnah says, the principal reward is in the world to come. Whatever God owes you for doing it, that's separate, that's going to give you later. But for now, is what you're building yourself here in this world is a life in this world. Simply a life in this world. For yourself. They use the famous parable that there was once a very, devoted employee who worked very nice and very hard and was very devoted to the job. And he did an amazing job. And eventually came the day he has to go out for pension. And he was a construction builder. He was in construction business. So the owner of the company says, before you leave, one more house. Like the last house. And he's like already halfway out. His head is already on, thinking the enjoyment, so to speak, of retirement. He's not looking to build anymore. He's as they say in English, been there, done that, I'm not interested. But the guy, he was, the owner asked him, so he said, okay, nope, you want a house, make your house. But it wasn't full-heartedly involved. So he cut corners here, he cut corners there. He made a house just to make his boss happy. Little did he know, he finishes the house. The owner comes to him and says, as a token of appreciation, the company decided to give you this house as a gift. You're getting this house as a gift. Shkoach. If he would have only known that he's building a house for himself, he would have made sure, as they say in English, all the pitchifkes, all the details, everything should be done perfectly. Who talks about cutting corners, that's for sure not. But he thought, last out, not for me anyway, I'm not interested. What you build is what you get. This is what the Rambam says. אלו דברים שאדם אוכל פירותיהם בעולם הזה. This is the thing that you eat, the fruits in this world. The principal reward is going to be in the world to come, but in this world, what is it that you gain in this world? Is all these simple types of activities. Seemingly simple. And this is really what the Torah is telling us regarding the three mitzvahs. Compassion about the bird story and honoring parents and proper measurements. It's to be a mensch with other people. So this is one of the ideas that we see in the Parsha. But talking about reward and talking about eating the fruits in this world, so I want to go into another discussion into this Parsha, a little halachically, but also see how it works with our relationship with God. We have a very important mitzvah, like I said, it says, David said 74 mitzvahs, no? 74 is a lot of mitzvahs. So turn to a very interesting mitzvah regarding you employer and an employee. It says in the Torah on page 1061 in the English, verse 15. Or verse 14. Let's start verse 14. L'sashoik sochir oni ve'evyoin mi'achecho v'migercho asher be'artzecho b'shorecho. You shall not cheat a poor or destitute hired person among you brethren. What does it mean, cheating? Cheating.
Not paying a living wage.
Oh.
No, that's not what it means.
Yeah. So before we had a pasuk about a rich person, there was Ilya and Parsha Gdoshim. Now it talks about a poor person. Beyoymoi titein schoroi. On the day shall you pay his hire. Veloitovo yolav hashemesh. The sun should not set upon him. Ki oniu. For he is poor. Ve'elov noises nafshoi. And his life depends on it. Ve'lo yikro alecho el Hashem. Let him not call out against you to Hashem. Ve'hoyo bechochet. For it shall be a sin to you. The Torah gives us a very important mitzvah, which this mitzvah is also qualified in Shulchan Aruch, in Choshen Mishpat, section 339, I believe, Shilan Tes. It's a Gemara in Bab Metzia. The Gemara discusses it, 2 pages. There's an obligation to pay an employee the day of his employment. You hire someone to do a job today, you have to pay him today. Today. He shouldn't go home without his wages. Then there is all these conditions, contract, monthly, bi-monthly, I hire to a agency. All these conditions is being discussed in the Gemara. Some of you remember there was a guy in our shul called Ran Aaron. Today he's a young man, he sits and learns a lot of Torah. On his own, also started exploring the Talmud. And the first subject to learn was this Talmudic subject about employment and being paid at his appropriate time. I remember he came to talk to me about it, and he was very happy to hear that there is information about it, and what the Talmud says about it, and what Allah says about it. And as they say in English, the rest is history. But that was the first subject we discussed, was this very subject. Paying an employee on time. The Gemara says if you hire them to work by day, you have to pay them before next sunrise. If you hire them to work at night, you have to pay them before the following sunset, because there are two verses and so on. The big question which we discuss, and Hasidus talks about it, and many books talk about it, how does it work with God? We just learned before our Mishnah that God says the reward is going to be given to you in the world to come. In the world to come? What do you mean the world to come? You owe me now. Today is my day, so every day you owe me. God is also religious, so to speak, right? He's also keeping the mitzvah. And there's many answers. All the answers are basically, if you look around, you're going to find answers for this question. All the answers are associated with analyzing what is the conditions where an employer does not need to pay his employee at that day, and then somehow find that this is probably in a relationship with God too. So for example, there are halachic conditions that if you hire someone to an agent, you don't have to pay him on the very same day. Okay? So some commentators would say, yes, we are hired by God to work for him, but he used an agent, he used Moses to hire us. Okay? Exemption. He can wait with his reward. Some say one of the conditions of employment is if you get someone to finish a job, not to work for a day, not a day worker, but just a contractor to finish a job, you can pay him at the end of the contract period. We are contracted by God. We are not hired to work today. This is a contract. The contract goes till the day we die, or the contract might even consider us all as one entity of employees, and then the contract might end when Mashiach comes, because then it's when all of Israel finishes their job and the whole world finishes their job. So you see how it goes, all these different answers in how to respond to this question, why isn't God, why is God, so to speak, allowed to keep its reward, its wages, till later, like he says, today is now is the time to do, tomorrow is the day for reward. So it all falls into the same analyzing this halacha, this concept. But at the very truth, it is important to analyze what kind of service people are we to God. We all know that we are hired. We all know that we have to work for him. But let's think for a second. In general, Jewish law talks about three types of servicemen. There's a slave, right? Which is subjected to his master. Could be that this is the way we deal with God. He's our master and we are like slaves to him. Servants. There is employees. There's an employer. God is our employer. We are his employees. What about considering us partners? Maybe we are partners with them. And then we have a different relationship. What is the true... Let's think for ourselves a moment. Let's analyze. What is the relationship that we have with God, and then to see when does he have to pay us? At which point does he have to pay us? It's important to figure it out once for all. Where is the place to turn if you want to know what is your relationship with God? A very important place will be Pirkei Avot. Pirkei Avot, if you study Pirkei Avot, you're going to see that in certain places, certain statuses are being described. In other places, another status is being described. Let's use an example, okay? Very interesting, if you be with me for a moment. Here, listen to our Mishnah. This is Pirkei Avot, the end of chapter 2. Rab Tarfon said, Rab Tarfon used to say, it is not incumbent upon you to complete the work, yet you are not free to desist from it. If you have studied much Torah, much reward will be given to you. And your employer is trustworthy to pay you the reward for your labor. He's talking about an employer. Who is your employer? So what's the relation to an employer? We are employees. So he clearly uses that term. בנאמן הוא בעל מלאכתך, שישלם לך שכר פעולתך. Your employer is trustworthy to pay you the reward for your labor. ודע, but you should know that the giving of reward to the righteous will be in the world to come. Clearly he talks about an employer. Rab Tarfon says the day is short, the work is much, the workmen are lazy, the reward is great, and the master is pressing. Okay? Again, you see Rab Tarfon talks about what? There's an employee which has a job to do, happens to be is lazy. There's an employer which keeps on pressing, come on guys. But at the same time he says, As-socher arbed, the reward is great. So we're clearly talking about a reward which is being provided from the employer to the employee. And if you are an employer and an employee, you know, you get reward. You don't have to wait till you reward. You know what this week's Parsha says? About an employer and an employee? Go back a second to page 1058 or 1059, verse 25. When you come into the vineyard of your fellow, this is talking about an employee. As Rashi says, you're working for someone's vineyard. What does it say? You may eat grapes as is your desire to your field, but you may not put into your vessel. Fine. But part of the benefit of being an employee, that along the way you enjoy from what the employer has. You can enjoy. Speaking about our relationship with God, whatever He gives us. But yet, if you look further, description, and this is the description of a, what's it called? Of a slave. In the Torah, many times we have this term, avodayim. You are my servants. Many times, even in this parsha, you're going to find it. Ki libnei Yisrael avodim avodayim. You are considered my servant. You are my servant. I don't want to look around now, but there is definitely verses in this parsha which talks about us being servants. You know what happens to a servant in Jewish law? What you have to provide for your servant? You have to give him more and better than what you provide for yourself.
Better not to have them.
Ah?
Better not to have them at all.
The Rambam says, the Gemara says, acquiring an Hebrew servant is acquiring a master on yourself. That's the expression that the Rambam says. Because the Torah says, Ki tov lo imach, it should be good to him, with you. Whatever, this is all halacha, Rambam. If you eat white bread, you can't give him dark bread. If you drink aged wine, you can't give him new wine. If you sleep on a mattress, you can't have him sleep on straw. Everything that you have, he cannot have less than what you have. Imagine you go to the store, you buy yourself a nice pair of shoes. I would take 2. Why 2? Come back. No, 1 is for my servant. You don't have to buy him here, they're less expensive. I'm sorry, Torah doesn't let me. You go to the store, you buy 2 loaves of bread. Who's going to eat it? I'm sorry, I have a servant. A servant. And if we are servants to God, obviously he has to provide us. The way a master provides for a servant. Has to follow his own law. So whether if you are an employee or a servant, clearly you are being provided, or at least you can ask to be provided with whatever you need for your service. But then there is yet another type of service that's called a shutaf. You know what a shutaf is?
Sorry, what?
A partner. God doesn't only consider us his employees. God doesn't only consider us his servants. God looks on us and he says, I partnership with you. I give you raw material, you develop it. I give you a world, make it a nice world. Not just as a job. We're going to share the profits. Whatever gain the world will gain by developing itself the way we wanted to do, the way God wanted to be developed, we're going to be able to share the profits. This is a part of the reward. And you know what happens when you're a partner? The partner who offers you the partnership is making sure that whatever expenses you put into the deal is counted in the partnership deal. Right? True, that's how our partnership works. Mm-hmm. Imagine we are partnering, in hosting chickens. We spoke about chickens before. So you have a bunch of chickens, and we are partners. Chickens need to eat, right? They need to be taken care of. How do we share the profits? By also including and concerning what I invested and how much I cared for those chickens. And imagine that everything that you do for God in this world, he has to pay you back for that. This is your investment in this partnership. Huh? Mm-hmm. It's a good deal. Jerry, what do you think? It's a pretty good deal. Partnership with God. He doesn't go bankrupt. What do you think? He never goes bankrupt. There's all these interesting things in this Parsha, verses which talk about employer and employee relationships, that if you translate it in your service with God and in the context of reward and payment, we have a lot to be happy with. We have a lot to be happy with. It's a Parsha which talks about many mitzvahs, but also speaks a lot about good payment and good reward. You have some good offers which we shouldn't refuse and shouldn't reject. And maybe all be smart to grab a good deal and become good partners and good employees and good servants to Hashem and marry to live a good, lange, gesunde Leben. Should be a good gebench year, everybody. You're already deep in Elul. We're already today the 11th day in Elul. A week from this Shabbos, we're going to start saying Slichas. Oi, Gewalt! Sei gesund.